This is Christian Rose, Old Evil, That Damn Coyote, Moonshine, Illinois' favorite son, The Truth, The Bitter Lunatic, a man with so many nicknames even I can't remember them all, proudly representing those damn coyotes, King in the Valley, and you are listening to the Sit Down Marks podcast.
Hey, yo.
If I can be serious for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Come on in. Sit down, Marks Mafia. It's time to talk a little wrestling. Welcome. Episode number 158 of the Sit Down Marks podcast. And today we're going to talk about genetics in wrestling. Does it matter? Does it matter a lot? Well, we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about it and all the combos, current and classics out there. I want to thank everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook right now, and everybody listening on all those podcast platforms out there, including SportzWire Radio. Thank you, guys. You have found the best kept secret in wrestling podcast. Come on in, sit down. Let's spread the good word of wrestling. But first of all, let me introduce to you my panel, of course, Primo from the pod, the host on the East Coast, of course, always Lucha Daddy. What's going on, brother?
Lucha Daddy, baby. I am good. It's good to be back. I mean, we were going so heavy in the month of March and April that I don't know. It feels like we took a week or two off. I know we did cheap pops like last week or something, but I'm glad we're back, and I'm excited to get into these conversations about them. Genetics, baby. The genetic freak, if you will.
Yeah, me too. And one of the most traveled independent wrestling fans in the world. I am here, by God, coining him El Sombrero Verde. Dylan, what's going on, brother?
What's good, boys? We're trying our best to both thrive and survive over here. Had to bring back the green hat this week. Took a couple weeks off, but man, it's a big week for wrestling. I'm fired up.
It is. And let's go back to that intro, man. We're gonna have to get Christian back on because he is no longer proudly representing those damn Coyotes. So that's a little outdated.
You listen
but
to that, we're like,
one.
ouch.
Yeah. It's such a good one. So a lot has happened since then. So thanks for joining me, boys. Let's get a little wrestling, man. It's time to jump into it. Hot topic time. 5 topics in the world of pro wrestling, Primo. All right, here we go. 5 topics in the world of pro wrestling. Primo, I'm going to start with you on this one, man. Aleister Black has made his return to WWE, and coincidentally, on the same night, his wife wins the U.S. title. Pretty cool night for those guys, huh?
Yeah, it is. I'm not going to say that. I do think it's a cool coincidence. I'll give it that.
Sure.
I don't think her winning the title is because, she may or may not have had a hand in bringing her husband back to the company. Clearly she did. My wife has a hand in everything I do. So
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But no, cool for her and she can rep. I saw that she went and took the belt to the 9/11 memorial. That very cool. Yeah. Also, Aleister Black being back. Freaking awesome.
Yeah, his old same entrance is back. That's cool.
Yeah. And then he's still got the old white eye there.
Yeah,
so
shit. Boy.
Yeah, so he's still doing that. But no, great to see him back. I always pop for Black Mass, so I love that.
Yeah,
that's such a good sound when it hits.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty cool though, right, Dylan?
I did not realize how much I missed his music. That first week he came back, they hit that music, and I was like, we are back. We are all the way back. I loved his AEW run. Could have been more, but wasn't complaining about it. But as soon as he came back, I was like, oh, yeah, here we go. We got the music back. He's back to being a solo guy, back to picking people's heads off. Like, here we go. Just don't screw him up this time. Let's run with it.
Right, yeah. Let's do it right this time. All right, speaking of AEW, Dylan, I'm going to stay here with you, man. For topic number 2, AEW has announced a residency at the 2300 Arena for later this month. I, as a fan, think this is just cool as shit, man. I love that they're doing this. So basically residency, Dynamite. I think they're doing a house show there, Collision, some other sort of, it's like a handful of shows that they'll run, in I think a span of over a week, but pretty cool there that they're going back. I mean, that place is such wrestling history,
Yeah, that's on my wrestling bucket list for sure, is to visit the 2300. But yeah, I think they're doing a Ring of Honor show there maybe. They did this in, I believe it was Dallas not too long ago, maybe a year ago. Ran like a handful of collisions there in a roll or something. And it's a cool idea. Obviously, I like to see them travel because that gives us a better chance to see them if they are out and about traveling. But if you're going to pick one arena to have a residency in, man, the old ECW arena has got to be top of the list, I'd imagine.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Dang.
So
the 2300 arena is 2 hours and 45 minutes from my house.
Yeah, man. On the corner of Swanson and Rittner, man.
Yeah.
So my dad told me one time, so he went to one ECW show at ECW Arena back in the Tape Trader days, you know what I mean? When it was still, I think he, if I remember right, I think like Taz Sandman was like one of the main events, and it ended up like they brought out in the parking lot, and the crowd just went to the parking lot, with them. It just tells me like how wild it was, man. I know, right? And it's been I'm glad it's been like redone, and they didn't knock it down or any of that stuff. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but I think this is cool there. But speaking of AEW too, man, they come to Chicago next week for what is it, Beach Break or something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah,
something like the name of it. Yeah, and they already announced Samoa Joe and Mox in the cage. Yeah, which is cool. Well, I'd love to go to that, but I can't get to Chicago that quick on a weekday night.
Yeah, middle of the week's bad. If it was a Saturday, it would be go for sure. That Chicago gets a bunch of great shows. We just need them to be on the weekend so we can go. Right.
Yep. All right, boys. Topic number 3. So we got Backlash this weekend. Big pay-per-view coming up. But then after that, they've WWE's announced a slew of Saturday night's main event dates that are coming back. The first one's going to be in Tampa on May the 24th. I always like these shows, but I feel like something big needs to happen on them this time around. You know what I mean? Like we need a big title change. Give us a reason to watch them, because I kind of feel like it was, in the old days it was just matches. You know what I mean? Didn't do, you know what I mean? And so I feel like got back to that, but I'd like to see something happen this time. You know what I mean? I don't know what, but but you guys, glad Saturday night's main event's back. Is that one of those things you guys kind of got a DVR and probably watch on Sunday? I'm most likely not watching it live.
Well, I mean, they're not doing it during football season, so for now I can watch it.
You can do it, yeah. Fair.
That's so
now, if they were trying to cover up my Longhorns back here on Saturdays, we wouldn't. That wouldn't cut it.
We're like less than a week away from NFL schedule release. I'm ready.
Sorry, Dylan, what were you saying?
Yeah, if it's one of those, if I'm free, I'll absolutely watch it live. But being free on a Saturday night, it's not the easiest thing to come about.
Sure.
I agree with you, DB. I need something big now. The first one was just that blast of nostalgia. Had Jesse the Body back. Everything felt cool and old school.
Yeah.
And you got to do something to keep people tuning in. It can't just be, we got 2.5 hours of Raw and 3 hours of SmackDown, and now here's another 2 hours of Saturday night wrestling that has no consequence. Like,
now, if they're doing Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night's main event, multiple times, or does that mean that we don't need them to do the Raw old school?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, one retro show was fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't overplay the retros, because it's cool when you do it like here and there.
Right. I can't remember. Are the Saturday night shows, are they 2 hours? Is that what they are normally?
I couldn't remember. That felt right, but I don't remember for sure.
I feel like they are. I don't know.
I feel like an hour is just too short for a wrestling show these days, the way, the shortest one is too.
Because you have to have 55 minutes of commercials at least. So
yeah. And picture in picture. Yeah. Been seeing that a lot with them. So, all right, boys. Topic number 4. I'm afraid we're going to have to talk about our old friends Hogan and Bischoff. So if
For
you haven't
life.
heard, So 4,000 people in NWO. I think I heard a guy say one time. It was funny. So Hogan, Bischoff, and a guy named Izzy Martinez. Who did y'all tell me he was again?
He's a wrestling coach.
Okay. All right. So they're basically starting their own promotion. It's going to be called RAFW, Real American Freestyle Wrestling. And what the hell?
Yeah.
all kind of thoughts about this. You know, I think a lot of people are going to see Hogan on this brand and turn their head. You know, I'm you know what I mean? I'm just being honest. You know, Bischoff would draw me in because I still think he's got a pretty good brain for, you know, Izzy Martinez. Like I said, I don't know nothing about him, but yeah, apparently, what do you say, Primo's going to be like a amateur?
Yeah, the idea from Dave Meltzer is the idea that Bischoff and Hogan are going to make an amateur freestyle pro wrestling company, and they're going all in. They're going to push for a TV and streaming rights deal, and Bischoff will handle the company behind the scenes, and Hogan will be on-screen commissioner. And they're also in partnership with Izzy Martinez, who is he's an actual amateur wrestling coach. So
Right.
this is interesting because what the fuck is Hogan doing there?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
I mean, he barely even did regular pro wrestling, much less actual freestyle amateur wrestling.
He's going to like put his beer
Hogan-
label on it.
Hogan discovered Brock Lesnar and he tapped out Kurt Angle,
Dude.
and I'm sure he did a bunch of other really cool
Man.
amateur things. That definitely happened. That is not a
The
lie.
stuff that I
Right.
see him say in some interviews, I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. No, honestly, I saw the first like teaser video that Bischoff and Hogan put out,
Yeah.
and I was like, nope, this isn't for me. I don't know where it's going, but whatever it is, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was a podcast or a show or
What I
something.
thought.
But
Yeah.
What was that?
When you
Sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
when you say Hogan's an on-air commissioner, that just screams like
Right.
pro wrestling kayfabe. Like,
Are they
what, is
bringing
he
back
gonna run out,
Immortal?
like- yeah, like, no, you can't use a chair in this match. Now it's a no DQ.
Right.
Like, what are we doing?
This is going to be a tag team match, player.
Yeah.
So yes. Go ahead.
I just think that, what was that Control Your Narrative that EC3
Right.
had?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people
Yeah.
are saying, will this be longer than that? Like, will it last longer than that?
Right. So what about public perception? All right. The last time we saw Hogan on a wrestling event, what happened? Dude got booed out of the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Yes, big time. So, and those are wrestling fans. Those are the people that are, like I said, maybe they're going to try something different, but I don't know. So, I would think those are the ones you want on your side. I just don't know, but
I haven't seen a single wrestling fan that is on board with this. We're all like, this sounds stupid as shit. What are you doing? Like, we know our lane, and that's not it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if they would have said, hey, we're going to start or Bischoff and Hogan, because Bischoff's been on MLW a lot. So if they said Bischoff and Hogan are going to partner and take over MLW, that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
You think it's
yeah.
shoot wrestling since this
Well,
amateur Izzy guy's involved?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it seems to be.
Sounds that way.
That's
yeah.
why I'm just like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, what's Hogan doing there?
Yeah.
Wrestling fans that have talked about this seem to be like of the same mindset of what the hell. And yeah, I don't know, man. For the most part, I don't think people are receiving this very well.
And
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
enough. I don't know like a amateur style or shoot style. Does like UFC, are there enough crossover with UFC fans where they'll go, hey, we got this new promotion, let's watch it? Or are they already oversaturated with UFC and PFL and BKFC and all the other MMA type stuff?
Mhm.
And if they see Hulk Hogan, are they going to immediately go, oh, this isn't our stuff, this is that pro wrestling stuff? We don't
Most
need to watch
people
it, you
will
know?
change the channel.
Is
Or
he
turn it
just
off.
going to turn it? Yeah, so it's, I don't know. Good luck to him. Bischoff's probably the right guy to have behind the scenes because he's
Yeah.
smart as far as that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It won't be a
Right.
high bar to pass Control Your Narrative, but I don't know how much farther they go than that.
Right. All right. Topic number 5 in the world of WWE. The latest talk has been WWE's latest round of releases. Usually we get the word usually a couple weeks before that's been rumored that there is one, that they're coming, pretty soon. And then they happen. Boom. Primo, let's hear the list, man.
Yeah, man. So May 2nd, which was just I can't count. It was 6 days ago. It seemed like every hour we were getting another release. And from what surprised me the most about this, honestly, was the amount of NXT roster that got released. So from the NXT, we have Danny Palmer, Wolfgang, Mark Coffey, Joe Coffey, Javier Bernal, Oro Mensah, Riley Osborne, Jakara Jackson, Eddie Thorpe, Gigi Dolan, and Cora Jade. Now, if any of you don't know who those people are, it's probably because you don't watch NXT, but it's a lot of young talent that they were grooming to eventually be a superstar, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 NXT roster members that now have to go do the thing elsewhere. And from the main roster, we had Dakota Kai, Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, Caden Carter, and Katana Chance. For me, I think the one that I dislike the most is probably Shayna. I really like Shayna Baszler. I heard Braun was dealing with health issues.
Yeah.
So he's limited. Like, he can still do some stuff, but he's not, all the way healthy. But as far as everybody else, I mean, Dakota Kai and Caden Carter and Katana Chance, those are the other ones from the main roster.
Yeah. Shotzi, right? When she part of it.
Yes, and Shotzi. Yes.
Shotzi will go back on the indies and do just fine. She was a kind of a darling there, when she got signed. So I think she'll do fine. Cora Jade really kind of surprised me, and not because I think like she's a superstar, but I felt like WWE was putting some stock in her, using her on these crossovers. You know what I mean? So that one, kind of shocked me. And I feel like she'll be good for TNA probably. You know what I mean? I think she could go jump in that women's division and be pretty good there. But also too, she could definitely hit the Chicago scene on the indies for a while.
Also, Shayna, for those that don't know, Shayna's also legit. Like, she's a fighter.
Yeah,
like,
I'd love to see her go back to UFC.
Real life fighter, yeah.
Yeah. If Shayna could talk just a little better, man, like, she would be awesome, right? Like,
yeah.
But I think it was just the talking, maybe she couldn't kind of get past the tough girl gimmick, like, I don't know. Maybe should have tried some comedy with her or something more.
They started her off hot too. The way they came in, had her beat everybody in the chamber, put her with Becky,
right,
and then she just never got back to that.
Yeah,
near that level, honestly.
Like, she could have went on one of those Pinto runs where you just go and break everybody's arm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Back to the NXT, the Gigi Dolan, I kept wanting to call her Priscilla Kelly. Her and the Jakara Jackson both surprised me because they had, kind of like you said, DB, they had been on, the big NXT shows and the TNA crossovers and had done some stuff with, like, on Raw and SmackDown
recently.
In the tag division recently. Like, I just saw Gigi and Jakara both actually at the TNA taping like a month ago or so. It's one of those, like, you can almost tell it's not all a creative decision. It's more like the higher ups, not the creative team, because it's all these people that, it's one thing if it's the people that they're not doing anything with, you're like, okay, you can kind of see the writing on the wall. But when it's people that are active and doing a lot, when they're the ones getting cut, it's like, wow, okay, didn't see that coming.
I don't think it does, but I wonder if the number of releases has anything to do with the AAA acquisition.
You could.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, they added a lot to their payroll all of a sudden, but I don't know. I knew, I seen like a handful of names that they were going to definitely keep, but everything else was going to kind of be up for grabs. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. So it's going to be probably bringing a lot of them up through the NXT. So
the current rumor is El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., Vikingo, Flemmer,
Go ahead and
Alberto,
say it.
fucking, yep, and then
No, I thought they released him.
La
Oh, jeez.
Hiedra.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all seen her, but no, where you relax. I wasn't going anywhere, but I was gonna say she's exciting to watch. Relax.
Yeah.
When you do think about how many people they have at the Performance Center and then adding the AAA and they're doing the Evolve and the LFG and all the WWE ID stuff, from like a business perspective, I can understand. Like, look at it from a sports perspective. If you have somebody on your roster and they've reached a certain level and they're not progressing past that, and you got a new rookie in that position, yeah, you're probably going to let them go and see what the rookie's got. It's like I kind of get it from that point.
Sure.
From the wrestling fan perspective, it's like, how can you not find anything for Dakota Kai to do? How can you not find anything for Gigi? How can you not find anything for Shotzi? It's like, this doesn't make sense. But it's business and it's sports. And,
Yeah.
Speaking of Evolve, did you guys see that they unveiled the men and women's Evolve championships?
I knew they'd been. Oh, nice. That's good. I've been kind of watching that a little bit more. Me and my daughter have caught up on LFG. You know what I mean? Since they started making cuts on there or whatever. But I was trying to watch that a little.
I fell off on LFG actually.
Yeah.
And it's not because I didn't like it. I did like it. It's just it's so difficult for me to watch. Not watch. Okay, it's so difficult for me to access. I have YouTube TV,
right?
And I don't have whatever channel it is, A&E.
Yeah. I'll steal the in-laws' password for their Dish Network, so that's how I watch it. So.
Oh, sorry, he's not. Batman's coming for you now.
All right, boys, that's going to do it for the hot start, man. It's time to get to the dropkick discussion of the week. But first, let's hear from our boy Slammer.
Yo, this is Slammer, and you're listening to Primo, DB, and AJ at the Sit Down Marks. And what you gonna do when Slammer Mania runs wild on you, brother?
He's very active on social media.
Yeah. Shout out to Slammer. Yeah.
I saw him a week or two ago. Good dude.
Yeah, he is. All right.
I remember when we had him on, he gave us a tour of his room. That room that he has. That's pretty cool.
He had a lot. He had a lot of figures and stuff. It was wild. So, all right, boys. Dropkick discussion of the week. It's time to talk about what we're going to talk about. So, I've sitting around. I've noticed that we're seeing some lineage come through. Braun Breaker's big on TV right now. And all of a sudden the Steiner name is getting talked about a lot. The Flair name gets talked about a lot. So I thought, why don't we talk genetics in wrestling? So basically, today we're going to talk about, first of all, we're going to talk about the the combos and the families that that are out there. That has had multiple generational wrestlers, come through. And so we're going to talk about them. And then, we're going to talk about, having that lineage, that heritage in their family. Does that give them an extra edge, in the sport, as a wrestler? Because, maybe they understand the business a little bit more because they kind of, grew up on it. So, yeah, so to kind of kick us off, like I talked about Braun and Scott Steiner. Everybody knows the Steiners, Rick, Scott, and now Braun, being the son of Rick and uncle. Scott is his uncle, and so big stuff here, man. For them, the Steiner name. When we watch Braun, I see Scott and Rick both in him, you know what I mean? And to me, that screams genetics, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Just the way they move, you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. So, and then another big one.
His uncle is the genetic freak.
Right. Yeah. So, that's definitely genetics there.
Big bag booty daddy.
All right, so I start off, man, and we'll just go down the line. So how about Brian Pillman Jr.? You know, we watched
Alexis King.
Yeah, Alexis King. Now he's getting, you know, he had a big spot on the mic. Last night. I think it was with Dirty Dango. So, you know, he's making his way in the scene. You watch him move. You know, he moves a lot like his daddy. You know, what I mean, when that he lets his hair grow out,
Right.
He looks a lot like his daddy. You know, and I noticed him like his torso. You know, like he's shaped the same as, you know, because I watched Pillman, you know, grow up. Who you got, Dylan?
First family I put on my list was Rick and Charlotte. You know, it's the greatest of all time, Ric Flair, and maybe the greatest female in Charlotte. And,
sure.
You know, some of the same style a little bit. Obviously, Charlotte's a much better athlete this generation, but both using the figure 4 or the Charlotte's figure 8, both of them with the robes. And that's one, you look at the generation, the list of the generations, like some of them lean into the older generation, lean into the parents, whoever they are. Some of them like try to avoid that, try to make their own path. It's like Charlotte's taken a lot from Rick that's been heavy in the presentation.
Yep.
He managed her at one point, like using the Flair name.
Nepo baby.
They were like the first ones that came to mind when we started talking about this.
Right. Yeah, and another thing too is like I saw remember David in WCW. You know, he looked a lot like Rick.
Yeah, I wrote him down too. But
Reed probably was going to be the best out of the 3. But of all his kids, you know, that wrestled, you know what I mean? Just, you know, just saying, just what I saw, man, he had most of Rick of any of them, I think. But
he dated Stacy Keibler, so he did okay.
Right, yeah. Who you got, Primo?
So I thought of, I mean, I have a lot, but
sure.
I'd say the first one that comes to mind when you think of genetics, when you think of kind of slowing down style sometimes, that malicious intent, I think of the Ortons. I think of Randy Orton, and I think of Cowboy Bob, and then and then even his dad. So the third generation right there. And obviously Randy Orton's a freaking specimen, but on top of that, he is very calculated with what he does. And he grew up in the business. You want to talk about Nepo baby? No hate, but I mean, he's told the story. Randy Orton's one of my like top 5 all time, but he went AWOL in the military, blah blah blah, got in trouble, and he was on the couch laid up feeling sorry for himself. Well, he gave his daddy a call, or I talked to his daddy, and his dad made the call, and that's how he got in, just like that. So
yeah.
I mean, clearly he's got the goods, and he's got so
right.
But I'm saying that's all it really took for him to be able to go get into OVW.
Yeah.
But that's who the first one I mentioned is the Ortons.
We'll pull one out a little differently here. How about Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton?
Yeah.
Kerry prominent in NWA. Of course, we've seen Ricky, wrestle a lot. He's a chip off the old block too. You know what I mean? He's man, is he a big baby face? But he's not. He'll never be the baby face Ricky was. You know what I mean? But moves like him a lot, built like him a lot, has a lot of his daddy's flair, and to me, Ricky's like top babe, one of the top baby faces of all time. I'm talking like top 3 in my era. You know what I mean? And so with Kerry getting to learn from him, that kind of makes him, one of one there. So.
Yeah. And for me, sticking with the Mortons for a minute, it was one of those, like, you hold Kerry Morton in such a high regard that when they first started, it was like, did I say Kerry? I meant Ricky. You hold Ricky Morton in such a high regard that when Kerry comes along, it's like, oh, cool, like he's getting a rub from his dad.
Yeah.
But then at least like on the GCW shows I've watched, like now Kerry's kind of heel and like going against the older generation. And that's just a whole different level of fun. Where it's not just I'm obviously here because of my dad. Like I'm adding something to it.
Yeah.
One of the names I put on my list that like never gets talked about, because I don't hear it talked about, is William Regal. His son's now in NXT, Charlie Dempsey. I'm a big fan of Dempsey, what I've seen.
Right.
Has that like scientific style. It's one of those that haven't just came out and said, like, hey, this is Regal's kid.
Yeah, that's what I think. A lot of
letting
people
him
may
make a
not
name
know.
for himself. Yeah. I mean, I didn't for the longest time, and I found it out, and I was like, oh, I can see that. They look similar.
Yeah.
And wrestle similar.
Dempsey looks like what I thought Regal would look like at that age, right? Like,
yeah.
Wild. Yeah. All right, Primo, go ahead and start rattling off a couple more at a time here.
All right. Here's two families. We don't have to really. I can't really discuss any single individual, but these are two families. Neither one of them. Well, one of them's still a little bit active, but first the Guerrero family.
Of course.
Gory, Chavo. He's talking about Chavo Classic. Chavo Jr., Eddie,
Yep. Hector.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that. That's the lineage right there. Yeah. Yeah. It was like everybody was born to be wrestlers in that family.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of everybody being born to be wrestlers, you talk about the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to talk about it too, because Marshall and Ross, sons of Kevin right now, are carrying on their tradition in MLW, and I try to support those guys and watch them, every chance I can too. And, because I see shades of Kerry and Kevin and, in them, in that. So that makes me happy that there's still something going from the Von Erichs for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dylan.
Me? I'll take it. I'll rattle off a couple here too. Talking about families, the Poffo family.
Oh yeah.
Lanny Poffo, a little before my time. Can't say I watched a whole bunch of Lanny, or not Lanny. The dad
Angelo.
Angelo. Thank you.
Yeah.
But then Lanny and of course Macho Man. Of course, Macho Man. Everybody knows Macho Man.
Yeah.
They were one I had come to mind. Talking about the family, they just ran like the Tennessee area before they made it big. I'd love to find more video of and watch more of it.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I mean, it gets talked about all the time, but the Samoan dynasty, the Rocks family, all the different, you could just post a whole family tree here. They're all wrestlers.
Sika, Wild Samoans, it just goes and goes there too, and that's the one that's still going. And
absolutely,
and you got. It's like there's plenty of them in waiting. Zilla's on the Indies right now. He'll be up at some point. You know what I mean? So another Fatu. You know what I mean? So that's insane. Let's kind of talk about family for a minute and just kind of keep this going. We got to talk about the Funks. That goes all the way down. From Senior to Dory to to Terry and that one obviously it's like in some families when it's ingrained as hard as it is, you have no choice. Everybody's getting trained to be a wrestler, right? So so we talked about them, Seeking Roman, talk about that. The Rhodes, the Reynolds.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cody, Dustin, and Dusty Baby, the old Belly Willie,
if you will.
I mean, he's on top of the world right now. As champ, or was as champ. I'm sorry, I ain't got used to seeing him being champ yet.
I had a moment today. You ever had those moments when you're trying to explain and I can really only talk to you guys about this, because people that are on the level of wrestling knowledge and fandom that we are, and you see somebody go across YouTube and happen to see the Hard Times promo, and he looked at me and goes, is this a good one? And I said, you mean one of the greatest promos in wrestling history? Yeah. I was like, so somebody I know watched that today, and they enjoyed it quite a bit.
Right.
I forgot to mention with the Guerreros, by the way, we forgot to mention Dominic.
Yeah, exactly.
Eddie's son Dom.
Right. Right. Yep. Let's talk about this one too. That kind of leans out to till a little farther tree here. Mike Rotunda, IRS, Bray, and Bo's daddy. And then also in that same family, Blackjack Mulligan, who was Barry and Kendall's dad. That's
Yeah.
all like a big family related there. Like, holy shit, like all those people that were so over in that family. Like,
I mean, another family I can't believe we hadn't mentioned yet is the Hart family.
Yeah. Jim, Brett, Owen. Yeah, that's another one. That's probably one of the ones that, not on the top tier that it's ingrained.
Yeah.
Everybody's wrestling in the family. No questions asked,
Mm-hmm.
And that one's interesting to me because, like, if you look at like Stu, Stu's the father and his kids. You got Brett, you got Owen, but like the next generation, it's not their kids. It's like the in-laws' kids.
Yeah,
Anvil married in, and that's how we get Natty. Bulldog married in, and that's how we get Davy Boy Jr.
Davy Boy, yeah,
it's not
Junior,
like
right?
Brett's kids or Owen's kids are at the next scene. That didn't really click until we were putting this list together, and I was like, it's not like a straight tree. It's like or from the sons, at least I should say. It's like they all married in, and that's how it happened.
Right? Yeah, it's like branch, small limb, big branch again. You know what I mean? Like,
adjacent.
It connects everything.
One I had down. A lot of those ones we've talked about, like you can kind of see it. Like Charlotte is definitely Rick's daughter.
Sure.
Braun is definitely a Steiner.
Sure.
Okay. You've got Grizzly Smith. From Grizzly Smith, you get Jake Roberts, you get Rockin' Robin, and you get Sam Houston.
Sam Houston.
And it's like those three, they like don't gel together. You're like, that's Grizzly's kid. It's like, oh wow, like they're related. Like wow, okay.
Man, when I was young, man, like Magnum TA was like the big baby face in NWA, right? But Sam Houston was like going to be the next big fucking thing, man. And he was already loved him. And like, I remember going to a bunch of the NWA shows and like, he was always in the opener and he would kick ass, man, he had a hell of a drop kick, man. Of course they did. Right. But, speaking of ones that caught, he got cut by NXT, but Von Wagner, he's the son of Wayne Bloom, who was in the Beverly Brothers. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but
I'm not sure I did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If you look at him and look pictures side by side,
Von
you
Wagner.
see it. Yeah. DiBiase, Junior, Senior. There's a father-son combo. Paul Ellering, Rachel Ellering. She's on the indies. What about Scott Hall and Cody? Cody wrestled for a while, so
you got Arn and Brock Anderson.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Tully Blanchard, Tessa Blanchard. You know what I mean? There's another two there.
Do you know that Razor Ramon made his debut against a guy named Paul Van Dale? You know who that is? Carmella's dad,
right? Yeah.
That's wild, man. Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Tamina, Jimmy Snuka. There's another
DiBiase and DiBiase Jr.
Yeah.
One that doesn't get talked about a whole lot because it's kind of the newer generation. Taz and Hook.
Oh right.
No, they mention it on TV, but it's not like when you go like generations, like they don't pop to mind. But it's like, you got
kind of touched. We touched a lot on this, but we didn't mention freaking Ava Rain and The Rock.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about Steve Carino, Colby Carino?
I didn't have them down. Yeah, that's a good one.
Another one I thought about. David Finley.
Yeah, I had him down.
Yeah.
Throw Brogan in there too. Or
Uriah
Hall, Uriah Connors.
Yeah.
Uriah Hall is a UFC fighter. Uriah Connors. In there. Yeah.
Big David's having a big year in Japan.
Yeah.
Robbie Brookside, Zaya, those two. Bill Watts, Eric Watts.
I had him down.
Andrade's a third generation wrestler.
And the last one I got written down, and we'll go through whatever y'all got left. So we were talking pre-pod. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Terry Gordy. His daughter Miranda is on the Indies. Heck yeah. So I think she's wrestling somewhere out of Kansas, maybe somewhere around there a lot, something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, she's on the indie scene. So, what other combos you guys got left here, and then we'll start wrapping this thing up.
Let's see. Obviously, Rocky Johnson, The Rock. A lot of these we touched on. I said Andrade a second ago. He's a third generation.
About Ron Bass Sr. and Jr.
Oh,
Ron Bass Jr. Yep. Yeah. He's on the Indies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was trying to go through my list. See, we talked about a bunch of them. Just to shout out a couple more that we didn't talk about, the Armstrong family.
Yeah.
You know,
yes, I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
Scott,
Bullet
Road
Bob
Dogg.
at the top,
Yeah.
and then you got Road Dogg, Brad Armstrong. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, how good was
Brad.
Brad
The Guns.
Armstrong?
Jeez.
And then that was gonna be my next one. When I was putting the list together, that talking about
It
Road Dogg,
clicked,
brought
yeah.
up Billy Gunn, and I was like, oh yeah, Billy's kids are wrestling too.
Yeah. And I'm, there's going to be ones that we missed, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely,
we
yeah.
can't, cover them all, but
Scott Steiner's kid, I think, didn't they already talk about doing a WEID?
Yeah, he's like doing the NIL program.
And I think the same thing with Mark Henry's kid.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so.
Right.
Mark Henry's kid is a beast too. Like,
Yeah, he is.
Go figure. But yeah.
Right. So when you talk about genetics in wrestling, right? So, let's take somebody like Mark Henry, right? Like, he's a big guy. He knows how to wrestle. Usually your kid is somewhat, built, like you know what I mean? So, and they can, teach you, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the ability's there because your dad had the ability, I'm a firm believer that I can shoot a basketball as good as I can is because my dad can shoot. My dad could shoot, like that was his game. Like I felt like, that was just kind of like his little thing. And I felt like he kind of, like passed that down to me. And like I still shoot a couple times a week now, but like I felt like it's always like, kind of like been passed down. So, so genetics in wrestling for a wrestler, versus somebody that comes into wrestling with no genetics, no ties, no nepotism, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like comes in, it's got to help you on a few ways. And I would say first confidence, because everybody already knows who you are. Everybody knows who you're the son or the daughter of, you know what I mean? So you probably already know a lot of the wrestlers that you may be around from being, what I mean? So that's already kind of like a little edge, right? I mean, when you're first coming in.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, you grew up in the business, so the basic, like from a high end, you kind of know the ins and outs, how the wheel and deal. But on top of that, you watched your parent go and do this when you were a kid, and so the grind, what it takes, and you have that work ethic instilled into you to either be as good or better than your parent was.
Right
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, goes without saying, none of us are actually wrestlers, so maybe we can't say it for sure,
right,
but you can't go in with that attitude of like, oh, my dad was so and so he worked hard and had this great work ethic like Primo was talking about. So no, I can just kind of coast because the room's already there.
Sure.
Like you still have to go in and work your butt off and have the proper respect, and still got to make your own path, even if somebody kind of helped pave the road before you.
Now, somebody like Randy Orton that's chiseled out of stone, I'm sure that while he probably did work his ass off to get that body, it may have, due to his genetics, come I'm not saying easy in that sense, but maybe easier to him due to his genetics.
Yeah.
Right.
No doubt. Yeah.
Same with Braun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then too, if you come from a wrestling background, wrestling family, you go in there and, it's first bump day, you've probably already taken a bunch of them. You're already like ahead of the game.
Especially if you're one of these families.
Yeah. You're already kind of like, you've already been doing it for probably quite a while, to see, if the interest was there, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So they had to be, so they had to be, working on it for quite a long time. So they're more comfortable, coming in, okay. So then when we're talking about promos, okay. So this is where I think it's a little more of a level, like, your dad's Ric Flair, Charlotte don't cut the best fucking, promos we've ever heard. You know what I mean? So I think that's a little more earned. You know what I mean? Than genetics are given, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you might can talk pretty good like your dad, but you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little more personal, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, look at two examples, Arn and Brock. Arn's one of the greatest talkers of all time. And Brock is still green. I'm not trying to bury the guy, but he's not on the Arn level. But then on the reverse, like Mike Rotundo was never like a great promo, in my opinion. Awesome wrestler, but you don't remember any of his promos. Right. But then look at everything Bray could do on the mic. It's like, where'd that come from? That's something he had to develop on his own.
Right. And this is the one big thing that I think that somebody has coming into it already. The mind of wrestling. Their dad's probably already been sitting in front of them talking about why things happen because they, this and this happens and this happens. So I think educationally wise, they're probably on even a higher level sometimes than physically. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So let's, if you're going into NXT and let's say I'm Ric Flair's son and I'm going in with, some high school football player or college football player that was awesome. He's coming in, like I'm probably going to blow him out because, he don't understand heat,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. You've been set down. You've had psychology explained.
Yeah. Knowledge,
all that stuff.
Yeah. So with all this being said and all these, family mix-ups and not mix-ups, but like father-daughter combos, and these, leniencies of lineage of these names, to come from a wrestling family seems like a really big head start in the race of wrestling, if you ask me. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
I mean, there's going to be instances, right?
Yeah, I would, and it's not, and we do know it's not always 100%, guaranteed you're going to be the WWE champion, or you know what I'm saying? You might end up being, you might come in the WWE and they throw gold paint on you or something like that.
Right? Yeah, you don't know. Put a star on your face.
Exactly. So, but having your family in the business and all that definitely aids you in politics and aids you in that navigation of how and what to do.
Yeah. In politics, like we talked about it too, like you always kind of got to probably get a little bit of a nod if you're in the family, so to speak.
Really a legacy.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, like a head start, like sure, you have a good foundation, most likely.
Right.
But it's definitely not a guarantee. You look like Eric Watts is a great example. He got a little bit of a rub in WCW when Bill was there, but as soon as Bill was gone, Eric was gone.
Right.
Like it's just because your dad's in the business, you're going to get hired. You even look at like Steve Corino works for WWE in their developmental, but Colby Corino's like not guaranteed a contract off of that. He's still out there busting it on the indies every week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's definitely a good head start. There's too many examples of it working out for you to think otherwise. It's a good foundation, a good maybe foot in the door, but it's still up to the next generations to do a lot of the work to get there.
Yeah. And a lot of times, I feel like, it is a big disadvantage, if you're coming in there with the lineage of like Flair or something, you're always, she's still getting those comparisons and people talking about stuff. So be always kind of like separate yourself, but it's kind of something you kind of just got to get used to if you're going to jump in your dad's game or your mama's game or your uncle's game, your grandpa's game, whatever, you know what I mean? So
something I just thought about, and I guess we talked about it way back when, but I remember when Solo first came into NXT, he made a big point to make himself different than his brothers. And now, I can clearly differentiate Solo separate from the Usos.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't lump that. I know they're brothers, but I'm saying like Solo is his own entity.
Right. Sure. Yeah, definitely is. And he's kind of got his own group now. So
yeah. And one thing I had crossed my mind, we were talking about some of like the younger talent today. Like, think about how big nostalgia is. Like, go back to the Von Erichs. Okay, like the Von Erichs' dad wrestled, and the kids got into the business.
Right.
But it's not like Fritz was this all-time legend, incredible story when they were getting in. And now look at the ones getting in today. You got the whole legend of the Von Erich family, for better or worse,
Right.
that you have to live up to. Same with like Brock Anderson. Arn Anderson now is this all-time legend. If you know your stuff, he's one of the best ever, one of your favorites. Like, imagine trying to follow in those footsteps. Like,
I know
that can't be easy at all.
Yeah. That's tough too, man. But yeah. I mean, any sport, if your dad was a great running back, or if he hit, 600 home runs, you're gonna be expected to do the same, no matter what, So
Ken Griffey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Good talk, man. That's gonna do it for the Dropkick discussion of the week. It's time to go home, boys. Let's go.
This is your friendly neighborhood maniac, Matt Hatter, and you are listening to Sit Down Marks with DB, AJ, and Primo. And welcome to my wonderland.
I want to thank everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook, and thank everybody listening on all those podcast platforms out there. Thank you all the new listeners we got checking us out. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you to go follow at Sit Down Marks on all socials. If you got a product or service you would like to advertise to our listeners, please email dbonthemic at Yahoo or DM or any of us on social media. We'll be glad to talk to you about that. I want to thank Homegrown Wrestling, OB, Cerveceria in Chinoa, Illinois, and Stumpy over at Homegrown Wrestling for having us down in Chinoa last week for their awesome show they put on. Had a good crowd, and a lot of people found out about the podcast. So I want to thank for them bringing us on there. So also too, Primo just dropped a Cheap Pops with Primo last week. So make sure you go and check that out. Primo, also tell them how they can join that Discord we got.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to join our Discord, you can click the link in the description below, or you can go and search any of our episodes or any of our socials, and the Discord link will be dropped in those descriptions as well. So
join the Discord today and join the conversation, so that way we can build this wrestling community that we want to build. We were in there. We were chatting with people. We wanted to get people in there. We want to do giveaways. We want to build this wrestling community and have more people to talk about this stuff with. So get in there. We'll drop a link in the chat. We'll drop a link in the description. And like I said, you can click on any episode description. It's there. You can go to our socials and it's there as well. So we'll see you there if you join. And if not, we'll catch you next time, because you'll get there eventually.
All right, the next show of the podcast is going to be at Dreamwave, June the 14th, LaSalle, Illinois. It's called Born for This. It's going to be good, man. So we're going to be there. And then also July the 12th, we're going to be the big outdoor show, the Summer Spectacular show. I have some tickets, so if you need some tickets for the show, just hit me up. Be glad to hook you up with some. All right, so Dylan, what you got going on this weekend, man? No wrestling for me this weekend. You and I are both going to AEW next weekend, so that's going to be awesome. So looking forward to that. But what you got going on this weekend, brother?
Yeah, so let's start with my preview here this week. Find that at my Twitter at DHagerJ15. It's DHAGERJ15. Kind of a slower week as far as the major shows go. We've had in the last month Mania weekend and Squared Circle Expo weekend and a bunch of these big weekends. So it's like we're kind of slowing down for a bit. Mother's Day weekend. But there's two I included in my preview. Maple Leaf Pro, Scott D'Amore's promotion up in Canada, crowning two new champs. I'm assuming it's their world champ and their women's champ. Essentially, there's a big gauntlet to determine the men's champ. You got Josh Alexander and Speedball and Matt Cardona and Billy Gunn and a whole who's who of names in that. Then the women's title is Giselle Shaw and Kylie Ray. And the whole card is loaded. They got a triple threat with Gabe Kidd and Speedball and Maiku Oku. They got Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jonathan Gresham. The Good Brothers are back on that card, taking on the War Dogs from over in New Japan. That card is just stacked. That's live on Fight. And then Sunday, JCW Jersey Championship Wrestling it's like the sister promotion almost to a GCW.
Mm-hmm.
They're back this week. Mander's on the card defending his WXW title.
Shout out Manders. I got his shirt on.
Shout out the boss of the Plains. Got my new Manders and Thomas Shire koozie here. Cowboy Way.
He hooked us up on the Whatnot show the other night.
Yes, sir. They got a big card. Billy Starks versus Zeta Steel. Mad Dog Connolly's on the card. Main event, Masha Slamovich defending against Timothy Thatcher.
Nice.
That's the most made for Dylan match ever. Cannot wait to check that out.
Yeah.
So that's what I have on the preview. Then Saturday night, I will be in Evansville, Indiana for Hooligan Championship Wrestling. They have their, I think it's their biggest show of the year. It's an all-female card. They've had a couple of names drop, so I'm not sure if the card's still exactly intact. But I know the main event just got announced. The new main event, I should say. Ericademia defending her title against Brittany Brooks and Gabby Forza and Angel Metro in a four-way. They got Alexis Littlefoot taking on Kylie Alexa. I believe she works with the NWA. That's still booked as far as I know. And you still got J-Rod on the card. You got Ashley Alexander on the card. Zaya Brookside, who we mentioned in our drop kick, she's on the card. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun time down at Evansville.
Yeah, shout out to Erica DeMaya too, from my hometown. Shout out Lincoln. Yeah, all right, man. Look forward to that one, man. Awesome. All right, so what's going on next on the pod? We got a special Monday live show next week. Going to be coming at you live 8 o'clock, 7 Central. We're going to be sitting down with a good friend of mine, a guy I've got to know a lot, working with him at Iron Spirit Pro, and been trying to get him up to Dreamwave here for a little while. And he's been on a tour of Mexico and Japan lately, and he's back, and he's got a big match coming up this weekend against Connor Hopkins. So coming to the pod, Zach Abstract on Monday. So be glad to talk to him, man. He's going to have a lot of stories. He's going to be talking about his match over the weekend and kind of what's coming up for him, man. This is another guy just he's on the cusp. And if you see him around the Midwest, check him out. So, all right, boys, I'm going to get you out of here on this. So in case you guys haven't heard, so Mercedes Monet, she's charging $99 to have what she calls a personal text message number, to be able to text her at any time. Now, none of us is going to do that. But my question to you guys is, which wrestler would you pay $100 a month to have a personal cell phone line to right now? It's got to be an active wrestler. Give me an active wrestler. One person. I'm going to start off. I think R-Truth would be hilarious to text with, but I would probably fanboy out and go more along the lines of probably like Jay White. What do you guys think? Is that a hard one?
That's a real tough one.
For me,
it can't be an indie wrestler, Dylan. It's got to be a signed person.
I text the indie people I want to text anyway without paying $99. You know what? I'm just going to throw it out there.
I know
a Dirty Dom.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
I'll
talk about chicken tendies together.
I was going to say, he has about the same diet as my children. So.
Yeah, and me, to be honest.
Right. Primo, who would you pay?
I would text somebody. We would have insightful conversations. Maybe deep conversations, maybe conversations on the level of Neil deGrasse Tyson, but also we'd talk about video games, and I would text Xavier Woods.
Nice. That'd be funny. That'd be a good one. That's a good one.
Or AJ Styles.
Yeah. I just think that's wild. Mercedes is $99, man.
Dude,
come on.
Dude, have you lost touch? $99? No wrestling fan is going to pay that shit.
Right.
Well, okay, hold on real quick.
We're in the $9.99.
The wrestling fans that pay for that aren't the right kind of wrestling fans you want texting.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to take that shit to OnlyFans or something.
Yeah,
they ain't getting paid on the wrestling scene.
Are you out of your mind? The common wrestling fan that isn't doing that for inappropriate reasons isn't going to pay $99.
Right. Yeah, no thanks. And like I would just think it's not her. It's somebody else texting.
Yeah,
it's just it's Sasha AI. It's Sasha AI or whatever her name is. Fucking Mercedes AI.
Yeah. All right, boys, that's going to do it for today. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you guys for checking us out on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, all those podcast platforms out there. We're going to be back, like I said, Monday, talking with Zach Abstract. And the week after that, we're going to be having a podcast where Dylan's going to be heading this one up. He's going to be talking about who's up next, who on the indies is next up to be signed, who should we probably be seeing on our TVs that we TV here pretty soon, should I say, that we the big channels, I guess, so to speak. So going to be talking about that. So Primo, Dylan, thank you, brothers.
Of course.
Thanks for joining me today. Good times.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you're right. It felt like it was a little while since we did a pod, so it was good to be back. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man. All right. So for myself and the boys, see you guys next time because we're top guys.
And we are
out.
I think Dylan just froze.
Totally did. Yeah. Well, Dylan's not here. He can't bust on Alberto Del Rio like the rest of us.
God, fuck Alberto.
Man.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Wild.
What?
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, you missed us dissing Alberto.
Yeah, we were dissing Alberto in the Easter egg segment.
I was literally just thinking, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make it a whole episode. And then I dropped right at the very end.
That's great. Well, we almost made it. We out.